Coming up, another edition of High School Hoops Headlines, and we'll have Ryan Deal help us break down several great matchups at the Hanson Classic.
Anand Moody and Jordan Meidinger have very different traits, but on the court they have great chemistry. Get to know the Dickinson duo that's going D1.
All that plus our picks for some of this week's biggest games. Varsity Sports starts right now. Hello, and how is everybody doing? Alongside Jason and Dara, I am Jay Elson. This is Varsity Sports. A quick look, Jason, at the calendar, and boom, here we are. We're about halfway through the basketball season already.
Yeah, most classes are at that 10-game mark right now. That's about halfway through their season, and we're really seeing who's still improving, because they always are improving as they get toward March. But some teams have plateaued a little bit. This is kind of the time to see which contenders have fallen off and which ones are going to keep powering through.
Because I don't know if you know this, but coaches like to be playing their best ball in March.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Talking to a few
I know
coaches.
it's groundbreaking,
Yeah.
but they really do. All right, well, with that, let's get you caught up on the week that was in this region in high school hoops. And let's start with the St. Thomas More Cavalier girls. The Cavs have been the class of Class A for quite some time. In fact, they haven't lost to a South Dakota Class A team in nearly 4 years. This week, though, they branched out a little bit, played some different competition. Friday night, they dominated Class AA O'Gorman 43-24 in Sioux Falls. And Saturday, they went wire to wire with the number one team from Class B. Ethan gave the Cavs all they could handle, but STM does manage to secure a 53-51 win to stay unbeaten.
Nice streak for those Cavaliers. But speaking of streaks, let's move to North Dakota, where Minot has the longest winning streak. Last night, they stretched their streak to 22 games in a row, a 10-point win over Legacy. Wasn't very comfortable, and their last win before that was an overtime win over Mandan, but the streak stays intact.
Wins are wins, right? All right, well, it always generates headlines when an unbeaten team suffers its first loss this late into the season. And last week, we had two of those in North Dakota, both in Class B, top-ranked and previous unbeaten. 4 wins, Metawakan dropped a 68-63 decision at Hillsborough Central Valley, while number 2 Linton HMB fell to Dickinson Trinity 70-62. In that game, 4 players reached double figures to spark the Titans toward the upset.
On a weekend road trip, Rapid City Stevens became the first team from the Dakotas to beat Campbell County in Wyoming this season. They eked out an 80-74 win in double overtime. Bismarck Century, Bismarck Legacy, Rapid City Central all came close to beating the 10-1 Wyoming powerhouse, but Stevens got it done. Stevens' new coach, Michael Brooks, by the way, is the former coach at Bradley University, and he said his girls took a big step forward in that win.
I'd say so. All right, well, that's a quick look at the week that was. Now let's take a quick glance at some of the top games coming up here over the next 7 days. And starting on the boys' side, Sioux Falls Christian and Vermilion 1 and 2 in your power poll in Class A boys.
Yeah, this is not going to be the full basketball forecast, but this will give you a taste of those best games coming up in the next 7 days. And you're right, Christian and Vermilion is going to be a dandy on Thursday night. And then Christian has to turn around and play against Madison, just a couple days later. So some great Class A basketball in South Dakota. You see Aberdeen just suffered another loss on Tuesday. They're going to try to bounce back against Harrisburg and get revenge in that game. O'Gorman taking on Stevens, probably the top 2 teams in AA right now. And in North Dakota, we've got some good ones with Grand Forks Red River taking on Wahpeton, a couple of really good teams in Class A there. And then Carrington, undefeated, trying to give 4 wins their second loss of the year. Should be a fun one to watch.
All right, well, look forward to talking about a few of those games a little bit later on.
We've got some previews
as we offer our own personal opinions.
Can't wait.
Stay tuned for that. Coming up, Dickinson, home to a pair of pretty impressive players, and while they are both playing huge roles in their team's success this season, they're doing it in very different ways. We'll share their story next.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
Welcome back. Well, it's not often you get a future Division I player on your high school team. Dickinson has the luxury of 2. It's an understatement to say opponents are bringing their best against these guys every night, and so far, these guys have lived up to the challenge. This week, instead of going one-on-one, we're going to shift into the zone defense to get to know these 2 high school superstars. Alphabetically, they're pretty close. But in so many other ways, these 2 leaders in the Dickinson basketball team couldn't be further apart. Anand Moody chose UND. Jordan Meidinger chose NDSU. Anand, a little over 6 feet. Jordan towers over his team at 7 feet. Anand lights it up from the outside, while Jordan commands the paint. Anand always knew he wanted to play hoops. Jordan, on the other hand, didn't find that spark until recently.
Ever since I was in kindergarten, first grade, I always knew that, I wanted to do something special with the ability that God gave me. And so, I didn't want to sit in a desk and do what my dad did. So I worked hard even as, a young kid just to, get to where I am today.
I didn't really like basketball when I first started. I just kind of started getting better at it, and I just started just liking it more, and then just decided why not just go to college for it.
With so many different traits, we asked them what they'd want most from each other's game.
Honestly, got a pretty good shot, but I think I would take his handles more just so I could maybe bring up the ball and stuff like that.
I think everybody can tell you that. Height. And so, there's a lot of things he can do with that height. He can rebound, he can shot block. He takes pressure from all of us wings that are guarding on the perimeter just because everything that's, coming inside is going to get blocked. And so we don't really have to work as hard. We can, deny the shot more and let them drive because Jordan's going to take care of business. And so just that luxury to have him on my team is just, better than anything I could have asked for.
While their games are very different, they're also very complementary. One thing these guys do have in common is their ability to light up a gym. No one in the state can get on a scoring spree like Anand.
It honestly, it just feels like, playing basketball at the community center. Just feels like everything's going in. And so, when, I do get in a certain rhythm like that and I do, get hot, I just like to take advantage of it and just, play smart and take my shots.
And Jordan can ignite the crowd with his ability to flush it.
When I was first started dunking, I didn't really think it was a big deal, but everyone else just gets really crazy about it, so I do it more often just to get the crowd pumped and get into the games.
Dickinson has risen to the heights of Class A basketball with the great leadership from this duo. But to take it to a state championship level is the goal.
I'd say we're an elite team already, but just to put ourselves above that top tier, I think, really we need to play a full 36 minutes, and so we haven't really put in a whole defensive game yet. And I think once we can really figure it out and make some adjustments at halftime and really put in 2 good halves, I think we're going to be a really dangerous team.
I think we've been doing an awesome job, maybe on offense, maybe getting more boards and putting those back in and stuff like that. But other than that, I think we're doing a great job and just need to keep on heading up.
Let's take a look now at some of the numbers. These stats through 10 games. Obviously, Moody could really fill it up, and Meidinger helps the Dickinson in a whole other variety of ways.
Yes, he definitely does. And some people look at Jordan Meidinger's number and say, how does a 7-foot guy only average 11 points per game? Well, look at this. Moody's averaging 34.8. You let that guy shoot when he can, and Meidinger cleans up the garbage and does what he does. Meidinger, by the way, only takes 7 shots per game. So of those 7 shots, he's being pretty efficient, I'd say.
Yeah, just under 60%, you see.
Exactly. Scraping the glass, taking care of business.
All right, so, his length, obviously unique for high school basketball and creates some nightmare matchup problems for other teams, too.
This is probably obvious to say, but it's so valuable for Jordan because he doesn't have to jump off of the court to defend in the blocks. And when you're not jumping, you're not making fouls. You're not, you're controlling the paint in every way possible. And you have so much more mobility when you don't have to be up in the air. And that's what Jordan does. On the other hand, Moody, he's a guy that just scores in bunches like nobody I've ever seen. Last year, put back-to-back 50-point games together. This year became the all-time leading scorer in Dickinson school history. Put up 40-plus points on a nightly basis. So what a great duo to have in the middle of this lineup.
We've mentioned both go to Division I.
Yeah.
But the way they've gotten to that point, very different as well.
Exactly. Anand Moody has always wanted to play at the Division I level, like you said in the story. Had interest from NDSU. His older brother played football at NDSU, but didn't get the offer from NDSU. Had a great relationship, by the way, with UND, and that just formed and sprouted, and he found himself loving the UND basketball program. While on the other hand, Jordan, he had interest. He's always been the tallest kid in his class, and so he really gets a lot of interest. Had an offer from Nebraska, but decided, you know what, I want to stay closer to home, play for my home state, and has been going to basketball camps with Dave Richmond for the last few years. And every year he shows up, he puts a new package of moves together and gets more and more intriguing as a Summit League prospect.
Now, well, needless to say, both of their future head coaches, that being Brian Jones at North Dakota, David Richmond at North Dakota State, awfully excited to get one of the in-state prized recruits to come to their programs.
I think his competitive spirit, his fire, I think he backs down from no one. He's always had an edge about him, so I think that's something we try to strive for here at North Dakota, because we know who we are, what we're about. We always need those guys who are out there with a little extra edge about them, because they want to compete at a high level and just really perform. Not only for obviously their teammates, but for the state of North Dakota. And with him being a local and a state product, I think that's exactly what we're going to see. But love his fire, love his shooting ability, his ability to score, but just obviously the big piece of just who he is as a person. I think he's going to bring tremendous asset to our locker room.
You know, one of the things they said is when you look for big guys, look for guys that can run, catch, and chew gum at the same time, and everything else you can work with. And Jordan can do all those. He runs very well. He's got very good hands. I'm pretty sure he's probably good at chewing gum as well. So I think obviously we know, Jordan's best basketball is down the road, but we're excited. You can see him physically getting stronger every year. And we're just really excited. We never had that kind of presence around the rim, defensively, but he's showing the abilities to go over left shoulder, right shoulder in the post, and I think Jordan's going to have an exciting career here, that's for sure.
All right, our thanks to Brian Jones and David Richmond for weighing in on those two prized recruits. All right, stay tuned. The Hanson Classic always seems to live up to the hype. The girls certainly delivered last weekend. Can the boys follow suit? We'll give you our take after this. Welcome back. The Hanson Classic is in its 35th year of bringing the best talent from across the area and showcasing it mid-season at the world's only Corn Palace in Mitchell. The ladies were up first last Saturday, and Jason, I think it's safe to say the committee once again did a great job with the pairings. We saw some great basketball.
There really were great games. And we say this every year, but this year was something special at the Hanson Classic. The field of teams included all 5 ranked teams in Class B, 3 of the top teams in Class A, including number 1 ranked St. Thomas More. Then you add in perennial power Crofton from Nebraska, and then a host of other great teams. The action really lived up to the billing. Avon took on Freeman early on, and they handed Freeman their first loss of the year. Warner, on the other hand, got by DeSmet in overtime. Then you saw McCook Central, who was down most of the game to Webster, fought back for a double-digit win in that game. Morgan Kepsel, she had an 11 for 19 shooting performance, 28 points, 13 boards to lead her team back. Then you saw the host team Hanson take on Sully Buttes, and they gave them all they could handle. Came up just a bucket shy of upsetting the defending champs in Class B.
It just kept getting better and better and better as the day wore on. The highlight of the night had to be Maya Sellen's buzzer beater to force overtime. That shot capped a big come-from-behind win for Sanborn Central Woonsocket over Crofton, Nebraska. The future Jackrabbit totaled 40 points, 15 rebounds in that win for the Blackhawks. And then there was the nightcap, which featured the top team from Class A against the best from Class B. That one went down to the wire as well, but in the end, it was St. Thomas More edging Ethan to stay unbeaten. Claire Kirsch led the Cavs with 16 points. Just again, we reiterate, some really great basketball all day long in Mitchell.
And the bar is set pretty high for the boys coming up this Saturday.
All right, for more on that girls event and a preview of this weekend's boys Hanson Classic, which is slated for this Saturday, we bring in Ryan Deal from the Mitchell Daily Republic. Ryan, what was your favorite part of the great slate of games last weekend?
It really had a little bit of everything. I mean, I think you got to start with Maya Sellen and her 40 points and the buzzer-beating three-pointer she had against Crofton to send that game into overtime, and then in overtime they took it from there. They kind of kept riding her, and she finished it out from there. But I think that's what stands out the most is obviously Maya's game. But then after that, you obviously had some other great games. Ethan, St. Thomas More. I mean, Ethan proved that they're legit. I mean, when they're playing with St. Thomas More, and obviously St. Thomas More, a lot of people consider them to be the best team in the state regardless of class. And I think that says a lot about Ethan, the fact that they only lost to them by 2 and had a couple chances at the end to tie that thing up. So those are a couple things that really stand out to me.
All right, let's take a look ahead to the boys Hanson Classic now. Here are the pairings. At 5:30, you've got Bridgewater Emory, who takes on defending Class B champion Warner. At 7, you got St. Thomas More taking on Sioux Valley. And then the nightcap, Corsica Stickney against the undefeated Langford Lions. Ryan, which of these games are you looking forward to the most?
I think the one that really kind of has me intrigued the most, well, there's a couple, but the one that really stands out is probably Sioux Valley against St. Thomas More. I mean, you're going to have number 1 Sioux Valley against number 5 St. Thomas More, and they've both been, just perennial powers in Class A with the last several years and everything. And I mean, there's some good players out there. I mean, Sioux Valley, Tate Vincent, he's going to play at Augustana, and he's got Trevor Olson and Trevor Hansen. Hansen's going to play at South Dakota State. And on the other side, you have Isaac Kortmeyer, and I believe he's going to go to South Dakota Tech. We just got just great players on both sides, led by a couple great coaches. So that's one I'm really looking forward to the most.
All right, that again, Ryan Deal from the Mitchell Daily Republic. Thanks, Ryan. Well, looking forward to another great day at the Court Palace coming up on Saturday. But first, this week's Fast Break. Janny will share his thoughts about the 8th grader that's making headlines in Yankton, and that and a whole bunch more. This is Varsity Sports. All right, it is time to run the break. You know how it works. I ask the questions. Jandy gets 35 or less to answer. And we're going to go class by class in boys hoops to talk about some of the biggest topics around the area right now. Are you ready?
I am always ready, Jay.
Number 1.
Always ready to take a shot.
South Dakota Class AAA. Matthew Moores is an 8th grader, but he doesn't look like an 8th grader. He plays much older than that. How good is this guy right now, and how good is he going to get?
Well, it's so hard to put labels on an 8th grader. You just don't know if he's going to get way better or if he's going to get just a little bit better. But all indications right now, he is the real deal. Last year, made the varsity team as a 7th grader. This year, he's already taken over a couple of games.
Oh, man.
And I haven't watched him play in the summers, but you hear stories about just how good this guy is in the summers, how he takes games over. And by the way, Mike Miller, the other guy he gets compared to a little bit, he wasn't playing varsity ball in 8th grade, so take that for what it's worth.
I guess so. All right. Class A now. Madison lost early in the year to Tri-Valley, but has seemed to turn a corner with some big wins against the likes of Sioux Valley, St. Thomas More, etc. What makes the Bulldogs dangerous?
Well, right now, they have players with big game experience. That makes them dangerous. There is no game that they are scared of. Plus, Mike Rickey knows that he can bring several guys off the bench without any drop-off on defense. By the way, this team thrives on defense. They have held their opponents to 36% shooting this year. They got lots of guys who can come out and defend. That's how they beat St. Thomas More last Saturday. They gave up just 36 points to them and gave up just 3 offensive boards. That's how you get it done on defense, and that's what makes this team so dangerous. But they have a huge test coming up. Del Rapids, Sioux Falls Christian, Chamberlain, and then they get Minot all in the next 2 weeks. Crazy to see if this team can keep up that pace on defense. They're going to need to play a little better offense to get through that little stint.
All right, Class B now. We just heard a little preview from Ryan Deal, who said to see what he's looking forward to most about Saturday in the Hanson Classic. But how about you? Who's got your attention?
Well, I agree that Sioux Valley St. Thomas More game is going to be huge, but I'm looking forward to Langford, Corsica, Stickney. Neither team has a loss yet in Class B this year. I think the Jaguars have those big bodies necessary to man up with a guy like Mason Larson, and not many teams have that. But the Mennings, both 6'4", 6'5", I think they can bang with him down low, so that'll be fun. And then Bridgewater Emory taking on Warner, another great highlight. But I think that Langford, Corsica, Stickney game, the one I'm really looking forward to.
All right, I got one quick one for you from North Dakota Class A. We talked about Moody and Meininger a little earlier in the show. Do you think they have what it takes to help Dickinson make a serious run here?
You know, if they play like they did against Century, I think they can take on anybody, but they're going to need that supporting cast. Eli Young has been stepping up. He's going to have to do it. Cam Jorda, Tanner Willett, Sean Steffen, big keys to this situation. I think they can, but they're going to need the whole team to play.
All right, that's it.
All right.
Good job running the break. Get some water. Breathe up. All right. Well, stay tuned, folks. Jason's going to put perfection to the test here in just a few moments as we offer up our thoughts on some of this week's top matchups. We're going to play another round of Pick'em next.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
All right. Let's make some picks, shall we?
Let's do it.
Jason's perfect so far, folks. Save the one upset that you didn't get right. Everything else, have been on point. Good for you.
It always starts like this, though, doesn't it, Jay? And then you come back right about now, so let's see what happens.
Let's see. North Dakota girls, Red River and Wahpeton, Saturday.
You know, Red River finally had their first loss of the year, but this is a very strong team. Wahpeton still doesn't have that signature win yet. I don't think they're going to get that signature win against Grand Forks Red River.
Battle of the top 2 scorers in the EDC.
Yep.
Tylee Irwin from Wahpeton, of course, and then Lexi Robson from Grand Forks Red River. I think Robson might have a little bit more around her, though, and that's why I like the Rough Riders to get the win here as well. North Dakota boys, Carrington at 4 wins. This one should be fun.
I'll tell you what, Carrington undefeated, led by their junior point guard, Garrett Bickett, who's really taken a step up from his sophomore year. Very young team, though. I think they're a year away from knocking off a team like 4 wins, and they're getting on a head of steam. They're very focused after that loss to Hillsborough Central Valley.
Yeah, that's the thing, is good teams, they get the wake-up calls every once in a while, and I think that's exactly what we're going to see from 4 wins here. I think
that's what happened against Dickens Trinity a couple years ago.
I think they get the win and move on, have another really great season. All right, South Dakota girls, Aberdeen at Harrisburg on Friday.
The wheels falling off a little bit for Aberdeen
Wobbling
Central.
anyway.
They lost to Brookings coming out last Tuesday. I think this is a team that really needs to regroup in the right direction. They're going to be focused on this game, but Harrisburg, best team in this class, in my opinion. They're going to win this game.
Now look at this. Aberdeen has played 2 games against teams that are above 500. They're 0-2 in those games.
Okay.
Lost to Harrisburg.
It's gonna be tough.
Lost to Brandon Valley. They're going to lose to Harrisburg a second time. South Dakota boys, Sioux Falls Christian and Vermilion, 1-2 in your power rank.
I think Sioux Falls Christian is really geared up for this game. I think they can stop the weapons that Vermilion has from the outside. DJ Fikestra gets it done on the inside. I don't think there's an answer for that Vermilion-wise, so give me the Chargers.
Blitza White Williams, it's quite a pair for Vermilion,
Very good.
but Sioux Falls Christian, both of their losses to AA teams, Washington and O'Gorman's, they're 3 Class A wins by an average of 27 points. I don't think they're going to do that to Vermilion, but I do think the Chargers will get the win. Upset picks.
All right, upset picks. I'm going to take Hamlin to get their first loss of the year in girls basketball in South Dakota. Millbank has been really competitive. I think they can take them out.
I think Woolsey Wessington will lose their first game to Chester this weekend. Chester's played an extremely difficult schedule. They've held their own in some of those games. I think the Flyers are kind of poised for an upset, as much as I think Woolsey Wessington is due for a loss.
All right.
We'll see. Come back next week to find out how we did. Enjoy the games, everybody. For Jason Andera, I'm Jay Elson. We'll see you next time.